Step into the arena, RCMP Plus. It's not luck, it's logic. Bang, that's a powerbomb move right there. Light it up, baby, fella. Woo, that's fantasy fireworks. Buckets, baby. Ain't no rivalry like an RCMP rivalry. From stats to smack talk, where trash talk meets true talk. It's not just fantasy, it's legacy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops podcast. The only show where the chaos is real, the takes are hot, and the GMs are somehow still sending terrible trades at 3 inches the morning. I'm your host, Tommy Douglas. Holding down the fort as always, and joining me is the man who swears he's not glazing any GM. But the Guardians seem to think otherwise. PG, what's good?
Tommy, I'm feeling fantastic. Week 4 was wild injuries popping off, IR spots flooding, GMs panicking, trades flying around, and Z Tigers going from the bottom of the scoreboard to dropping a bombie on everyone. This league never sleeps.
Oh yeah. And speaking of not sleeping, Ballers, my brother, half your lineup is on IR. I don't know what kind of voodoo curse your team walked under, but we're gonna get into that. Let's jump straight into segment 1 and break down week 4. All right, matchup breakdown time. Week 4 was spicy. Some heartbreaks, some comebacks, some GMs punching the air, some GMs celebrating like they just won the Larry O'Brien. PG, let's start with the headliner. Powerbombers versus Z Tigers, the closest showdown of the week, and the big headline of the week. Powerbombers versus Z Tigers, a war, a certified slugfest, and somehow, the Z Tigers pull it out 1,508 to 1,456. PG, what happened?
Tommy, the Z Tigers, woke up and chose violence. First 2 weeks they were in the basement, dust on the scoreboard, and suddenly week 4 hits and they're the top scoring team in the entire league. Everything clicked. James Harden popped off with 250, Sharp dropped 175, Flag with 169 to Veer. It was a nuclear week.
And on the flip side, Powerbombers kept it tight all week. Rollins played well, the lineup was sharp, but man, when the Z Tigers get rolling like that, it's tough. Powerbombers fall to 2-2, but they go down swinging.
And Powerbombers? Hey, maybe if their GM wasn't burning fab like it's a scratch ticket, they'd have stolen this one. But credit where it's due, they fought. Next story, the Ballers. And folks, when I say IR, I mean the entire team is held together with crutches, ice packs, and prayers.
His lineup screen looks like a hospital ward. And then he starts barking in the chat about how everyone's hurt.
Yeah, and then Pinguinis hits him back with, "Your players are dinosaurs. I nearly dropped my phone." Elite trash talk.
Look, Ballers put up 892, and Pinguinis take it easily with 1,304. But here's the thing, Ballers did try. GM made some pickups. Max Christie, Jusuf Nurkic. For this week, moves were made, effort was shown, but health, zero. One of the best matchups of the week. Alphas versus Notre Dame time. This thing was back and forth, like a heavyweight fight.
This matchup was like watching two boxers trade jabs in the 12th round. Lead changes all week, then NDT pulls away late. Huge win, and suddenly they're tied for the best record in the league at 3-1. And in the end, Notre Dame time pulls it out, 1,419 to 1,335. A huge win, putting them in that top West seed spot.
Alphas fought hard, and thank God they finally dropped Walker Kessler, who's out for the season. Picked up Zach Edey, added Huerter, lineup finally breathing.
King Cobras took their first loss of the season. Guardians win it 1,060 to 1,000. A gritty win by the Guardians. They didn't blow the roof off, but they played steady. Meanwhile, King Cobras put up their first dud of the season. And yes, Guardians, GM, we hear you. You think we glaze the Powerbombers? Well, congrats. You got your praise. Savor it.
And Guardians GM? Oh, he's feeling himself. He's still mad at us, says we, glazing and shred him every week.
Brother, maybe if you stop sending angry fan mail, we'll give you some peace.
Never.
Upset alert. Padfoot Toes get their first win of the season, taking down the undefeated 2 balls, 1 hoop 1,360 to 1,219.
They needed that one bad. And Jaime Jaquez, man, the team fought. That's hard.
Padfoot is back. They needed this one, like the Ballers need healthy players. And hey, shout out again, the new co-GM structure is doing work. I know Mel and Z from Court Queens must be loving this one. Dunkin' Donuts picks up their first win too, 1,293 to 1,138.
Big win. Dunkin needed this one bad. Jokey the GOAT. I mean, I don't think they've made a single move in 3 weeks. Their franchise motto might as well be, let's see what happens.
No moves, no urgency, no FAAB. Spent, at this point, I think their GM might be a hologram.
Jokey at the GOAT. Listen, no moves all season. No FAAB spent. Zero urgency. The lights might already be off in that front office. We gotta shout out the Week 4 killers. Jalen Johnson 251, James Harden 250, Nikola Jokic 243, Elite, Legendary.
So Week 4 was chaotic. Streaks ended, streaks started, Z Tigers woke up, Ballers went into medical bankruptcy, and the playoff race got way tighter.
And speaking of playoff race after the break, we're gonna go through every single Week 5 matchup and give our predictions. Plus, the updated standings and the playoff bracket if the season ended today.
Stick around. It's getting serious in RCMP Plus.
Welcome back to RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops. Alright, PG. Week 5 is loaded rivalries, desperation games, undefeated streaks on the line, and at least one GM in a pure existential crisis. Let's break down every matchup and lock in our predictions.
Let's go. Some of these teams gotta win, man. Someone's season is basically on the line this week.
Matchup: 1 King Cobras versus 2 balls 1 hoop. Battle of the 3-1 Titans. Let's start with the big one. This is the matchup of the week. Both teams 3-1, both looking like legit threats. King Cobras finally showed they can bleed Guardians. Got them last week, but they still have the firepower.
And 2 balls 1 hoop? They've been consistent all season. Giannis, Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, that's a tough trio. This one's gonna be razor thin, but I'm taking 2 balls 1 hoop in a bounce back performance.
Ooh, I'm going the other way, King Cobras. Tighten up the defense and get back in the win column.
Matchup 2, Powerbombers versus Alphas.
Powerbombers fresh off a close loss to Z Tigers, and they're not happy about it. Meanwhile, Alphas keep playing with a self-imposed handicap. Kyrie finally in IR. Walker Kessler just dropped.
They're basically fighting Powerbombers with a stick and a dream. SGA's rolling. Powerbombers have the firepower to take this one. I picked the Powerbombers.
I second the Powerbombers. Matchup: 3 Guardians versus Jokey at the GOAT. Guardians are hot. Just knocked off the King Cobras and now sit at the top of the East at 3-1.
Meanwhile, Jokey the GOAT, man, I don't know what's happening over there. They've made fewer moves than a statue. Even Dunkin' Donuts is moving around now.
Guardians win by a mile.
Yeah, this is the easiest call of the week. Both pick Guardians. Matchup: 4 Padfoot 2s versus Dunkin' Donuts. Both teams are 1-3. Both just got their first wins last week, both trying to climb out of the basement. This is a save the season matchup.
Padfoot looked really good last week. 1,360. And I think the new co-GM system is making them a real threat.
I'm taking Padfoot Toes. They're trending up.
Same Padfoot toes moved to 2-3.
Matchup 5Z Tigers versus Pinguinis.
This one is beautiful Z Tigers, roaring back from the dead last week. Pinguini sitting strong at 3-1.
This is going to be super close. Wemby versus Harden weak. But I think Pinguinis' depth gives them the edge.
Nah, man. I think Z Tigers stay hot. Harden and Jalen Johnson are on fire.
I'm going with the Pinguinis.
I gotta say, the Z Tigers.
Matchup 6 Ballers versus Notre Dame time. Ballers, my brothers, I don't even know what to say anymore. IR list longer than a CVS receipt. Jokic is putting the team in a backpack like it's 8th grade.
Meanwhile, Notre Dame time just beat the Alphas, improved to 3-1, and they dodged a Luka for Jokic trade meltdown.
NDT wins this by like 300.
Notre Dame time takes it no doubt. All right, that wraps up the Week 5 predictions. Some tight matchups, some season-defining games, and 1 or 2 GMs who may need therapy by Monday.
When we come back, the picks, the trades, the FAAB chaos, and the updated playoff picture after 4 weeks. Stick around.
All right, folks. Final lap of today's show. It's the final segment, where we hit every storyline the league is yelling about in the group chat, and a few they're whispering about behind closed doors.
And this week, oh man, the streets were loud. Let's start with the Ballers, because my guy is basically running a hospital ward right now.
Almost the entire Ballers lineup is on IR. Jokic, Embiid, LeBron, Zion, Morant, PG, 13. He's got half an All-NBA roster wearing walking boots.
And he's in the chat, barking all week. Bro, my whole team is out. What do I do?
Then the Pinguinis clapped back immediately like, "Your players are dinosaurs. They're supposed to be extinct."
Cold, blooded, but also a little accurate.
Speaking of bounce backs, Z Tigers went from dead last scoring in weeks 1 and 2 to the #1 scoring team of week 4.
Anthony Edwards cooked. James Harden dropped a 250 bomb, second best of the week. Josh Hart actually woke up. Rudy Gobert stayed on the trade block like a free to good home sign.
And they edged out the Powerbombers by 52 points in the matchup of the week. 1,508. 1,456. Straight heater.
This one was fun. 2 teams trading punches all week. Alphas leaning on Devin Booker, Cat, LaMelo, Laurie. ND time firing back with Luka, Fox, Bam, and Jalen Johnson.
In the end, ND time pulls it off. 1,419. 1,335.
ND time stays hot, but we still need to check in on them after Powerbombers dropped a 500 spot in one night earlier this season. That shook his soul.
Jokieth the GOAT has made 0 moves. Nothing. No ads, no drops, no trades. Not even a lineup tweak.
The man is treating his fantasy roster like a library book.
He loses this week to Dunkin' Donuts 1,293, 1,138. And at some point, we gotta ask, brother, blink twice if you're still with us.
King Cobras are 2, Balls 1 hoop, who's the real deal?
Both teams finally take L's in week 4, so week 5 becomes the reality check. Those two go HEADT-OHEAD. King Cobras versus 2 Balls, 1 hoop heavyweight fight.
Ballers, 0-4. Jokey Thigoat, 1-3. Padfoot finally got off the schneid with a big 1,360. Dunkin' Donuts grabbed their first W.
Which means, Ballers, you're on watch. Your IR housing crisis needs a miracle.
Kawhi Leonard still on the trade block for Pinguinis.
Gobert on the block from Z Tigers, shocking absolutely no one.
Jokic cooks even when the Ballers are collapsing around him. He is letting this big man down.
All right, folks, that wraps up week 4 here on RCMP Plus Fantasy Hoops Edition. Another wild, weird, injury-filled, chat-exploding week in the league, and next week might be even crazier.
Yeah, because week 5 matchups are stacked. We've got King Cobras versus 2 balls, 1 hoop. Someone's proving if they're a contender or pretender. Powerbombers versus Alphas. SGA versus Booker divided by Lori, divided by Cat. That's a fireworks show waiting to happen. Guardians versus Jokey Thigoat, Cade, and Maxi should feast if Jokey Thigoat forgets to set a lineup. Padfoot Toes versus Dunkin Donuts, both coming off big W's and looking for momentum. Tset Tigers versus Pinguinis Harden. Ant versus Wemby, KD. Oh baby. Ballers versus Notre Dame time. The IR Hospital versus Luca and Fox. Pray for him.
And before we bounce, big shout out to the Padfoot Toes and Dunkin Donuts for their big wins. Love to see it.
Also, don't forget, it's going down. The Fantasy Hoops Christmas Rap Battle of the Century, Tommy and PG versus Evil Reese, and Playboy CJ from the Courtside Chaos crew.
Live on our YouTube channel. Bars, smoke, disrespect. You already know who's winning. Cough us. Cough.
All right, y'all. Set your lineups, send your trades, and may your stars stay out of IR. We'll be back next week with Week 5 fireworks.
I'm Tommy Douglas.
I'm PG, and this was Fantasy Hoops. See you next week.